So, we just started recording and I wasn't recording, that's my big mistake. Okay, so we're here to review our first big film of 2019, which is The Favourite, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone, Olivia Colman and Rachel Weisz. It's getting a lot of press and a lot of coverage, very excited because it's going to clearly do a lot at the award season. I think it's been nominated for some Golden Globes, the Oscars, etc, etc. Yorgos Lanthimos, the director, is a Greek director, bizarrely, when you think that this is a British costume drama. Yeah. And he directed prior, as you rightly observed, The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer. And many years before that, he did something called Dogtooth, which was a curiously odd film, which clearly earmarked an amazing director, which was about sort of feral children locked within a gated community. Very bizarre, very bizarre. But so this is a film about Queen Anne, who's the last of the Stuart monarchs. She reigned between 1702 and 1707. It was all around the time of William of Orange. What's most interesting about her reign, which I found out, was that the Act of Union between England and Scotland, she was the first king or queen of Great Britain. Oh, so the Act of Union.
How come we don't know about
absolutely. So the Act of Union
deal.
Between Scotland, her title was actually the Queen of Great Britain and Ireland. So she was actually the first monarch of Great Britain. Why don't we know that?
Well, there'd be loads of people going, I know that,
well,
I know
I'm sure
that.
You
we
did.
went
I'm sure
to
you did.
in our schools about it.
But what's really interesting, this is, some people are sort of describing it as a comedy drama.
That's, because I was reading the newspaper the other day. They were saying all the nominations and what they think who they think is going to win the Golden Globes, and they put Olivia Colman in with the comedy section, best actress in a comedy.
Well, she
her category.
Is it?
Best actress in comedy.
I'd be so pissed off if I was Olivia
This
Colman.
is what drives me nuts about genres. This is what drives me nuts a little bit about award seasons, and it must drive the actors and directors and makers of these films. But yes, there are funny moments in it.
It is not.
It is not a comedy.
It is not a comedy, and the thing is, it could lead people there, and then they could be cross about what they get.
Especially her performance. Her performance isn't.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. You're absolutely right. We're set in a genuine slice of British history. And what's going on between us and the French is all happening. So it's very accurate. But interesting, this is even more interesting, this is fascinating. Winston Churchill, who is a direct descendant of the Duke of Marlborough, who was Rachel Weisz's husband in it, has written many books about Queen Anne and the actual intense triangular relationship between these three women. So all of these characters existed. All of these characters existed, and there are many debates between scholars and historians about the type of language used in historical sources that could be euphemisms for this and suggestions of that. Now, of course, some of the scenes have been elaborated and guessed at and all that kind of stuff. But the notional idea that she did have the confidant of the Duchess of Marlborough, and she did have Abigail, the maid, aspiring, moving through the ranks. Now, all of that would lead you to think, what an odd concept. You know, is it a comedy? Isn't it a comedy? And then, Maddie, you were talking about the fact that describe how it sort of hits you, because it hits you visually, doesn't it?
Well, when I saw the trailer, I thought it looked amazing. I was really excited about it, but also from the trailer, you could tell that it was going to be an odd film. It was kind of weirdly shot, and I really liked the fisheye lens it had on it the whole time.
Remarkable, wasn't it?
So it made everything kind of look bent or curved.
And like you said, it was a bit GoPro-y.
Yeah, it was like it filmed on more high res.
The highest res GoPro in the world.
And then when I saw it, I think I wasn't too sure when it started. Yeah. Because I don't know, I just didn't know where it was going to go from there. I wasn't too sure at the beginning.
It built
but I was
itself
only uncertain
slowly.
for like 5 minutes or something. And then it really picked up its pace.
Well, in a weird way, the only clue you had, I think, in those early days, because I had the same feeling, I was thinking, okay, so how is this actually going to unfold? Yeah. But I thought, it's not often that the literal lens decision of the director in terms of the way he's shooting it or she's shooting a film is kind of telling you so much at the beginning. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But it also disorientated you. Absolutely. And I think that's probably what he wanted. Yeah. And I get what Maddie means, because it was like, what are we going to get here? What do we need? How do we need to fix our brain for what we're getting? So. And especially because you'd said the day before it was a very odd film, and I thought, I don't want this to be a completely disjointed, arty, esoteric film where 1 minute they're going to be something, the next I don't want to be turned upside down. I don't want some wild art where I don't know what's going on. I want to know the story because I love these three actresses and I want to be taken in to a brilliant drama.
It's really the story of Emma Stone's character trying to ascend the ranks of class within the court of Queen Anne.
Because she was a lady, wasn't she?
Well, she says she was a lady. I mean, you know.
But she was so educated.
No, she was.
Well,
She was.
okay.
Because
Oh, yes, 'cause they knew her.
husband.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
knew her
absolutely
father,
right.
yeah.
So yes, so her ascendancy, it's Rachel Weisz, the Duchess of Marlborough's close confidant relationship and love relationship with Queen Anne, and how that comes under pressure from the entry into this sort of...
You say love relationship.
Well, love, well, this is the fascinating thing, because I'd like to discuss later who was actually in love with who, if anyone was in love with anyone. Can I just give you a little incidental...
Well, it's fascinating studying where the lines of power and love come in.
It's so good. It's so rich. It's so rich.
So
I just want to give you a
rich.
little bit of trivia that will probably set the cat amongst the pigeons. Rachel Weisz wasn't originally cast to play the character.
Who was?
Kate Winslet was.
God, thank you, the
I know.
awards
And-
of casting directors.
And it's interesting because
my God.
yeah. Now, what I really liked about this film from the get-go was I thought it tipped gender assumptions completely on its head, especially with the character of Rachel Weisz, and that's what I loved about her. She was ballsy and manly without being unfeminine.
Well, this is why this film for me is so brilliant. Post Weinstein and everything that's gone. I mean,
Yes.
we've had a lot of. I mean, we've had, 3 billboards, great female character, and it seems that we're going in that direction. Because in the past, we've had a lot of feel-good female movies where everyone's the best friend they could be, and these amazing. This really does worship women because it shows them in their savage, raw, brutal need to survive. They're incredible. It's a film about ambition. It's a film about ambition and about survival, and I think it crosses really gender. If you think back in that time, how put upon women were,
but that a woman can
yet-
still be the queen, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and of course Marlborough's wife. What was Rachel Weisz's character called?
The Duchess of Marlborough.
Duchess of Marlborough. I mean, her incredible power, the way she was ruling all the men in it and manipulating. I mean, it was Shakespearean.
It reminded me, I don't know if you remember a film called The Draftsman's Contract by Peter Greenaway years ago, but that was the first time I've ever seen a costume drama done in a very sort of modernist, kind of strange way. For me, it reminded me a little bit of Dangerous Liaisons with all that brooding passion and double-crossing and who's who. Oh my God.
We did laugh out loud at points.
Oh, yeah,
because it was so dry, but it was dark.
I was just saying, I really liked all those kind of weird moments where the first bit was when we see all the men racing those ducks.
Yes!
It's so random, it's just like it suddenly cuts. And then when there's the naked guy that's having oranges thrown at him.
Oh, wasn't that brilliant? Well remembered.
It was insane. We talked about that. Well, that really got both of us back.
Really
It was
clever.
insane.
But that was a magical scene because, of course,
Yes.
she was standing at the door for an eternity just looking at these men behaving like absolute animals. I mean, it was Hogarthian. You know, Hogarth used to do the illustrations of the gin alley and all the bordellos
It's
of
just
people
the
drinking.
true meaning of hedonism, decadence.
Totally.
Wasn't it? And you had this feeling of it.
Well, what
The
was that
way
lovely
it was-
quote, Maddie? You reminded us that quote you loved with Emma Stone when she was in her sort of quarters and
Oh yeah, and the guy that kind of
Fancied her
came in. And
Her
she
room,
was like,
uninvited.
yeah, uninvited. She went, "What are you gonna do? Are you gonna rape me, or are you gonna
make love to me?"
Make love to me." And he was like, "I'm a gentleman," and she was like, "Rape it is."
Rape it is.
Rape
then,
it is
flung
then.
herself back on the bed.
Did you both relate to this? The gender pragmatism. There was the pragmatism of being a woman
Yeah.
at that level of sort of
Well, we
power.
talked about it afterwards, didn't we? We said, oh my God, we must think about this. The fact we live with so many choices as women today. This is what happens when somebody is given no choice. Emma Stone's character,
yeah.
I felt like I was on literally a runaway train. I've never seen a character played with such bravery. My stomach was in knots when we left the cinema because you felt the danger everyone was in every second, no matter what their position was. In a moment, your whole life could be changed on the whim of somebody more powerful than you. So it was a great story about power. I mean, the moment, what's the chap from Skins?
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult just pushes her over the ledge. Oh
I know.
my God, that scene spoke volumes.
It was amazing,
didn't it?
wasn't it?
Bam, gone.
It was a really amazing
And she
scene.
survived. Everything that happened,
Yeah.
she survived. She got up, she got up. And I found the ending very sad. I'm really aware of spoilers.
Yeah.
Not because we don't want to do spoilers, but I don't want to spoil anything for anyone.
No, you're absolutely right. I think we can avoid them.
Yeah.
What were your feelings on Emma Stone? And
I really loved Emma Stone's character, and thought she played it really, really well, because it's quite a difficult character to play, I think.
She goes on a huge arc,
Yeah,
doesn't she?
she has to change so much.
Because she had me. I mean, without giving too much away, I was in her heart. I was feeling her pain. I was feeling her desire.
She needs the Oscar.
I never knew who to like, though. I mean,
That's
I
interesting.
liked
That's
all
interesting.
of their performance and the actors, obviously,
Yes.
but character-wise, I didn't really know who to like.
That's very true.
I liked Emma Stone at first, because I was like, oh, she's like the vulnerable character, and she just... I thought she was, at that point, being loyal to Rachel Weisz at the same time and everything. But then I liked Olivia Colman, because there was that really sad moment where she talks about, because she has like loads of bunnies in her cages in her room, and she keeps referring to them as her babies in the film, and then you don't really... And then Emma Stone goes in and kind of asks her about it, and she said that it's because she lost 17 children.
Oh.
So she has 17 bunnies. And
as I remember that scene, I have goose pimples.
It's really interesting that Maddie says I didn't know who to like.
Yes.
Because I think this is what's so brilliant about this Greek and male director that's got into the hearts and souls.
How has he done it?
Of this period. And also our need to look at women in film and say, who do we like? Who's the good? And what it is he has given us, and of course the script writer, Jesus, what a brilliant written script.
Whoa.
These multifaceted women, they are all likeable, they are all hideous, they are all brutal,
beautiful,
and violent and beautiful, and that's why it's a real ode to what being a woman is.
Yeah,
that's
you're absolutely right.
That's why for me it's such a beautiful.
It's such a.
But also, I thought all the men in it were really good.
Oh, they were
all the
remarkable
guys
characters.
Were so good.
I thought it was interesting to watch.
Nicholas Hoult was so amazing.
Nicholas Hoult was amazing, but so too was the Prime Minister.
And the guy that fancied Emma Stone.
And what about all the servants?
But going back to that scene, I thought that scene was was probably Olivia Colman's most. Not that you're looking at a film and going, that's the most intense, but if there's a moment where I sort of hit an absolute sort of apex of emotion for Olivia Colman, it was the scene where she was sharing about those bunnies. She moved me so profoundly. I think
she just played depression, postnatal depression.
Yes, depression. It was a portrait of depression.
She also played bulimia.
Yes.
She was a bulimic.
What about that scene?
The
cake scene.
You have never seen a less vain actress.
No.
The way there is not one iota of vanity.
I'd forgotten that.
Ego.
I'd forgotten the cake scene.
Oh, the bulimia.
And then there was that moment when she was walking down the hallway when she got lost from Emma Stone and she grabbed that baby.
What about her I felt her disorientation, because I often think about our Queen, how lonely it must be to be in these enormous palaces, ricocheting around. You're in power. Everyone wants something from you. And there was that scene where she was sort of almost hallucinating and running around.
Where am I?
Yeah, and I thought that was incredibly powerful. But
she was like, where am I? And he was like, you're in the West Wing, man. She was like, don't shout, don't look at me.
Did you know that the composer of the music, Anna Meredith, has in the soundtrack, one of my man crushes, has contorted the harpsichord work of Elton John into that soundtrack. That's what the soundtrack is.
No.
Yes, Elton John harpsichal throughout it being discordant.
This
film is
on a level of
effing
genius.
clever. It's effing clever. But let me give you another little detail, because the script was phenomenal. But the script play, and this is who I'm going to be rooting for at the Oscars, Deborah Davis, who wrote the script as far back as 1998. She, having done all the research about Queen Anne and felt there was this story in there to be told, had no experience of writing scripts. So took herself to night school to translate her research into a script, and then took it to the producers, who went, right, we're going to do it. So if she's at the Oscars, I'm going to be bouncing off these walls. She deserves an Oscar nomination. She deserves an Oscar.
The moment where I felt Olivia Colman's performance was amazing was when she was sitting in her wheelchair at that party. And Rachel Weisz was dancing with that man, and it was because the camera was held on her for ages, and you just saw her, she was kind of smiling, and then it like really slowly turned into a frown, and then she was really teary, and she turned it into anger.
You felt her outside
you
of things.
saw the inside of a human being just crumble.
Yeah.
And she didn't move and muscle.
But what was amazing about that scene, and where you do have moments of laugh out loud slapstick humour, was the dance. I mean, it was. It was like a moment from Airplane.
It went into a lot of it was restoration comedy, which I've forgotten how much I love restoration.
Well, no, but do you remember that play we saw at the RSC? It reminded me of that the man, his master, his music, his master.
It was the silence of everybody else watching them dancing. It's totally normal. It's when her legs are going up.
I know.
But also the use of the word cunt was just.
Oh yeah.
Oh, every time it was said, we howled with love. Can we say that? Should I say that again?
Well, yeah, no, you absolutely can, because there's that fabulous comment, isn't there, by Nicholas Hoult, where he says she's been cunt jacked by her. Hijacked. Cunt struck. Cunt struck. I mean, it's
something about British people when they say the C word. It's so funny.
Well, I tell you what, it makes you realise as British people is how absolutely outrageous we were. I mean, you think we're prim and proper. I mean, bawdy.
What about when Emma Stone's taken into the kitchen to be beaten?
Oh.
And the cook says to the guy, because he's just ripping her top off to beat her, and she says, "Not in here, not in my kitchen, not for that stuff," thinking that he's about to rape her across the kitchen table. This film is savage. There is rape, there is beating, there's beatings.
When push comes to shove, what were your greatest moments, Maddie, with Olivia Colman?
Her performance in that ball scene was the one that really got me interested in her character. But I liked all of her scenes. I thought she was great in everything.
Throughout, yeah.
Rachel Weisz she could suddenly change from happy to sad and angry.
Because as an audience, you felt the fear of the unpredictability of the Queen and the ultimate power, because she was very much like a baby, wasn't she, because of her mental illnesses, and very vulnerable and very pliable, but then suddenly she would lash out and use all of her power as Queen. So even people that felt very comfortable, Lady Marlborough being one of them, you felt that it's just that feeling all the way through that your life could be taken in an instant and completely destroyed.
One of my favourite.
We saw all the mental illnesses that we talk about all the time now in the world.
Absolutely.
She was obviously.
She tried to kill herself.
Yeah, she was bulimic. She had a terrible depression. Terrible depression.
Beautifully portrayed. I've never seen depression portrayed in that way.
Terrible low self-esteem, running in parallel with ego because she was the Queen. So it was very relevant for a modern audience, I would say.
What about the scene when she's in Parliament and she doesn't want to read?
She just passes out.
She passes out.
And then she's like, were they looking? I can tell if they're looking even if I can't see them.
Oh, it's so funny. And Rachel Weisz, how did we feel about Rachel Weisz? I thought she was a tornado.
And that's a brilliant word.
She was a tornado in remarkable boots.
Her strength. She was sexy. She was
strong,
savage. She was ambitious. She was ruthless, utterly ruthless. We only saw pinholes of kindness.
That's why I didn't want to like her character.
Oh, is that why you struggled with her the most, do you think?
But Maddie, the brilliance of the actress.
No.
Because what she did was, she just gave us moments, they weren't in the script, in her eyes of fear, of loneliness.
No, I can appreciate it. She was amazing in it. Like, her acting was incredible. I mean, her character.
Yes.
You
couldn't get an angle on it.
Connect with as much as I did with the other two.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Rachel Weisz gave us moments of vulnerability within the character to help us as the audience to go with her a bit, which is a brilliant act.
Yeah, just a bit.
I only really went with her once we saw a different side with Emma Stone.
Yes, once we'd seen a different side. Why do you think Rachel Weisz let her in? Why did she let Emma Stone in?
Well, the moment they connected was when she said he was a ballooned German with a thin prick.
Oh, yes.
I let him believe that I was 28 days on my bleed, and she went, ha ha ha. And I love that.
So it was a shared hatred of men.
For me, that was a brilliant part of the script and of direction, because I went, yes, that's how it can help. That's how it can happen between two women. It's not all fucking Prosecco and pink, fluffy pink thingies. Sometimes women connect because they can go, oh, you're just as evil as me.
Yeah.
And she's lonely.
Yeah.
And she was extremely smart, and she saw that she was extremely smart, and I think that's where they connected.
No, but I also don't think Rachel Weisz realised how ambitious and
I think that's a nice political way of
She was kind of shocked whenever she was just like...
Yes.
I thought Emma Stone was really good in that scene where she was up at the top of the room and Rachel Weisz and Olivia Colman come in and they're
doing stuff
in the bed, but Emma Stone's face is she's just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it was so contemporary.
And she was kind of like really wanting to see what it was.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Did you feel for Emma Stone?
Yes.
Did you feel
all the way through? And that end scene, which I am not gonna in any way spoil.
Well,
the hand on the head.
At first, I was disappointed with the ending.
Were you?
It took me a while to actually.
That's interesting.
Because as it was happening, that last bit with it all merging together and everything without ruining it, I was kind of just like, oh, please don't end here because that's going to really annoy me. I don't know enough of what's going to happen. Like, I don't understand what's happening, sort of thing. And when it ended, I was like, I don't understand.
How did you read that shot?
I loved the end. I loved the end.
It's 2 close-ups of 2 faces.
I'm excited about the end. I'm excited about the end.
And the bunnies.
Because you remember when Rachel Weisz says, oh my dear, you really think you've won? Because, of course, she knew what it meant to be the confidant of the Queen and basically the slave of the Queen. So in that, when she's suppurating her legs, apparently her legs were horrific.
Terrible gout.
Suppurating leg, dribbling with the stroke.
She's had the stroke,
and she gets her to do what she gets her to do, and she's down on her knees, and the weight of the Queen on her head, I must steady myself, and she's crushed underneath it, and you think, yeah, you came up from the servitude, you think. You wanted to be a lady.
I saw it
but
as her.
look what you're doing.
I saw it as her crushing at Emma Stone because Emma Stone tried stepping on the bunny. You know,
oh, I see. Oh, so you saw that a neat visual parallel between
she tried to crush the bunny.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because she became evil, and then all the bunnies were just...
I found that stroke thing really sad because it was like nobody really noticed that it had happened.
Well, they probably wouldn't have done it at the time.
No,
it would just been a
it's when Emma Stone comes in drunk, you know, and she's trying to look after herself. Olivia Colman, like she lifts up her hand onto the table and everything. It was just so horrible. And I
felt a degree of panic. That scene where Emma Stone was sort of, you know, entertaining and getting drunk, and the Queen was on her own in her sort of quarters. I felt a real panic. That thing of a party going on and sort of terrible behaviour going on behind a wall made it. I felt so vulnerable in that scene because I felt the sense of, look at all this ornate kind of wealth and supposed safety and certainty, and yet within it, it's just
madness.
Carnage. No one cares for anyone. It is purely of the senses. It's the body. And I thought it was very good in that. I mean, I got a bit concerned. I was pleased I saw it on my own, actually. And when certain scenes for the faint-hearted, I mean, for example, there's a scene, I won't give away what happens to the Rachel Weisz character, but we are in a scene in a bordello or a brothel in the woods. I mean, it was a portrait of hell. It was a portrait of
when
hell.
Women had no choices. Oh my
And there was an interesting line
That's
by...
a bit where Stone's like, I see your back from, and then Rachel Weisz says, hell.
Hell,
sure
absolutely. Well, and that's where she was so good, Rachel Weisz. It was an unvain performance in terms of she didn't care how unliked she was hard. She was. It's a great year for Rachel Weisz. You got to see her Disobedience as well, and it just gave me a really granular sense of the unequalness of Britain back then. And you always think of back then as, well, we only learn about the monarchs, we only ever learn of the rich, we never really learn of the serfs and the peasants and the people.
I know, that simple scene when they were washing them and just throwing the freezing cold water.
Absolutely.
I mean, it made me think actually of the gas chambers. It made me think of Auschwitz actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
All these... The brutality put upon the poor.
I mean, for me, this has wrecked the potential of another costume drama delivering anything really almost as good. Well, let's sum up then. Let's start with, do you want to lead, Maddie?
I was always excited about it. I wasn't nervous about not liking it before I saw it.
Which is quite an achievement for a young female viewer, costume drama. Well, you know what I mean? Who would? I wouldn't.
Such a good brain.
At that age, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
I thought all the male actors were really amazing as well. Because I feel like it's great that there are 3 main women and they were amazing in it, but I feel like the men are going to go unnoticed.
Yeah, I know,
But they mustn't.
She's such a cast member, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
She's such a cast member.
They're really, really good, and I love Nicholas.
No, you're right. Nicholas Hoult is brilliant.
He's so good. Yeah, I loved all those just weird scenes of the men just looking horrible, you know, with the duck chasing, and then
that was an amazing
But like
scene.
with the naked guy having the oranges thrown at him, he was really happy.
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking in a minute he's going to start crying, but he was loving it. He was a masochist.
He was laughing so much. It was kind of like when Emma Stone first stepped in there, you thought it was kind of going to be like a safety sort of thing. You'd feel like being in the palace and it would mean you're safe. And it's not going to be like too bad or whatever. And then once you're in there, you just realise that it's like it's hell. And also when throughout the film because I kept thinking Olivia Colman really did love Rachel Weisz, that Rachel Weisz really did love Olivia Colman.
Yes.
And but then I kind of questioned it all, and I didn't know if any of them ever loved each other.
Well, that goes back to our first question. Who loved who?
Yeah. If it was just Olivia Colman because she was lonely, and Rachel Weisz was just doing it because she was the queen. And then I really loved the way it was shot. It was kind of like they were filming. I don't know if you noticed that bit where they're filming Nicholas Hoult come towards the camera to talk to Olivia Colman, and then the camera turns around to Olivia Colman, but it's still really far away. It was really weird. It was like they cut it twice, but it was all in one.
I don't remember all in one
take. It was really strange. And obviously from that effect as well, it made everything look further away than it was.
Well, when you have those whip pans, when you've got a fisheye, of course, so much visual activity is happening at the left and right of the frame.
So strange.
So it's almost doing a contra zoom at the very edges.
Yeah, because Nicholas looked really far away when he was walking towards it. When it just quickly turned around, he was suddenly massive. I was laughing, I was crying.
Yeah.
It was just, and I really think Olivia Colman's performance was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I also loved that bit with Emma Stone when she whacked herself in the face with a book repeatedly and then sat outside the Queen's door crying, like you said, like a little child.
She made herself look like a toddler.
Well, that was my moment where
Queen would love her.
I generated real affection for her at this point, and at this point I was like, right.
It's just what the human mind can think of when it is desperate. She was just desperate.
It's like my character in my film who breaks his nose.
It wasn't overplayed at all, I didn't feel. Like the depression wasn't dramatic.
Yeah, for something so full of pomp and ceremony, which is like a costume drama, it was underplayed.
Yeah,
That's it was a really good observation actually, because
and I felt like she wasn't trying to overtake Emma Stone or Rachel Weisz's performance as well. It was like she was giving them their spotlight.
So what would you score it? First proper score of 2019.
Probably 10. To be
10.
Honest. I can't really fault it.
You're going for a 10. Okay. I was really worried going into this, having seen trailers. I was really concerned because I'm a fan of his. We had to stop watching The Lobster. I saw The Killing of a Sacred Deer and I loved it. No, that was because of inappropriateness and Kiki being in the room. I loved Dogtooth, didn't know what to make of it. Liked what I saw of The Lobster and really enjoyed Killing of a Sacred Deer. So I went into this a bit concerned because in the trailers I thought, oh God, Olivia Colman, who I love. I really like her in Flowers. There's lots of comedies, but not for her more mainstream stuff. I thought she was going to be a bit caricature. I thought we were going to get a bit of a Miranda Richardson / Percy from Blackadder. And I was like, oh crikey. And within the first 5 minutes, all the visual cinematography that was at work absolutely captivated me. So I thought, oh flipping out, he's completely throwing me off guard here. This is great. He's invented. This is so inventive. He's got a fucking fisheye in a fucking palace. What's going on here? And I thought, from the get-go, you began to feel how understated, in a weird way, all of their performance are. Although the story itself is really in your face and dramatic and as I said earlier, sort of full of double bluffs and full of sort of, you know, passion and betrayal and wit. It's full of, I mean, that word wit is a really odd word. They do actually mention at one point, I will send these letters off to Jonathan Swift, who at the time was a great satirical writer in Britain. And he wrote a piece called A Modest Proposal, where he recommended that the solution to poverty in Ireland at the time was to eat the children. That's the kind of satire I wrote. I remember studying it. So when she said, I'm going to send these off to Jonathan Swift, it actually made me think, and he wrote Gulliver's Travels and things like that. And I remember thinking, this has got the wit of Jonathan Swift in it. It's so dark, it's remarkable, it's so twisted. It's taking us to places we wouldn't want to go. And then I thought, well, how much of what Jonathan Swift was writing was wit and satire, and how much of it was just real? I thought it was a fucking brilliant film. I came out and I literally ran around West Norwood, our local cinema. I was thinking, I can't believe what I've just seen. I was flummoxed. I knew I couldn't talk to you guys quite about it. I was brain was blown off my shoulders by 3 remarkable women that made me proud to be a father of daughters. When I think, God, that complexity, that layers, what is it that I'm intrigued by and frustrated by and hate about women? Go and see this film. It's in all of their parts. And Olivia Colman broke my heart. Emma Stone, I felt her desire for safety does she become safe? Does she ever? Does she what? Rachel Weisz's sort of coolness, but vulnerability too, held behind her corseted, booted sort of veneer, I just thought was fucking remarkable. I just think fucking remarkable. And this film is fucking remarkable. And it deserves 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it does.
For me, I hate it when people say this, but I'm going to say it. Nanny Di says it all the time and I argue with her about it. This is a very, very, very important film.
Yeah.
This is a really important film. Because we have to remember where we came from. We've got so much fucking choice. We've got so much freedom. We have the most blessed of lives. This reminded us what it was like to live just at the whim of other people.
Yeah, I don't think women now realise how much we now have. Because we're still complaining about this, all the stuff women don't have, but we should be looking at it as what we now have and didn't have back then. Like, it's way better than it was.
And as I've said previously in this review, to show women in their raw, savage beauty is to really, really applaud women. We don't want to just see films where women are just, great women.
Yes.
Great women are very, very, as you said, very complex things. And I loved the moment where their friendship, Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz friendship, ignited and ignited over.
Yeah, when they're doing the shooting and everything.
They're incredibly smart minds and their wit. That's what fused them together. And also for me, showed me a little of her vulnerability, though it was hard to see Rachel Weisz's character's vulnerability because she needed somebody. She needed a confidant.
We did
She
see her
needed somebody.
Yeah,
She needed somebody that she could have bants with, that you say. And she felt it was the equal. And she obviously, she lived to regret that. Like Maddie, I think it's really important that the men don't get sidelined in this because they were phenomenal. I am now a massive Nicholas Hoult fan. I feel sorry for all the other films we're going to see because the bar is set so high right in the first week of January.
Yeah.
I really want people to open their minds and go see this because a lot of people might think, well, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
Just go and see it.
Yeah, I even think some people my age would kind of like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Try and get
because
friends.
I was going to see it with my friend before we went to go and see it, and my friend watched the trailer and she went, that looks boring, and I was like,
no.
Well, here's a little grab I'd give on it that might sell it to people who might think that is, it's not a punk film, but it has a sense of punk style to it.
It's not boring.
It's not boring, but the way it's shot, the director's brought a sort of punk savvy to it. It's ripped. I mean, you don't have Elton John harpsichords riffed and remixed and thrown in and whipped panning GoPros in a costume drama.
But you know all these really annoying middle class, the Rebel Girls storytime book. Go and see this rebel women, true rebel, because they had to be rebels, because otherwise they would just be turned to dust on the foot of somebody. This has empowered me as a woman seeing this.
Wow, that's amazing. And what did you give it?
10.
I have to give it 100 out of 10. I have to go 10 plus.
Yeah.
Because nothing else. Because I have given a 10 because I gave a 10 last year for Star Is Born.
Yeah.
This has to have a 10 plus. Yeah. And then this will be as rare as hen's teeth.
Oh, this is rare. Well, and that's my worry. Do you think we've been cursed with the title of this film this year? The Favourite. Who should win the Oscar? Okay, who should win the Oscar? Which Oscar?
I was dreading you were going to ask that question because
come on.
If
you were in the Academy and you've got Best Supporting and Best Main, Rachel Weisz for Best Supporting, Olivia for Best Main, Emma Stone for Best Main.
I think Olivia will be nominated.
Olivia
for
Colman is down in everything as Best Actress.
Is she? Oh, good.
I think just the way things are, I think she will. But I think Emma is equal. I think Emma's performance
but also,
off the
I've
scale.
been looking at nominations and everything. Rachel Weisz isn't down for any.
She's not
down.
That is a sacrilege.
It's just Emma and Olivia.
There
I'm
you go.
now obsessed with having to see Rachel Weisz on stage.
This year she has drawn me into Rachel Weisz. You've drawn me into your web of seduction.
What's the other film now? I was
Disobedience.
I have to
You've got to see it, which has got Rachel McAdams. So anyway, let us
Sorry,
know who you think. When you've seen this film and then watched our review, tell us who you think should be nominated.
Sorry, we're overexcited. Sorry.
All right.
We are overexcited.
I do think that I know it's annoying because I want it's so hard. Because then I'm thinking of all the films I've liked last year now that are also going to be up in nominations.
Yes, I know, it is hard. Well, A Star Is Born is going to be up there.
If Beale Street could talk, like the mum would get Best Supporting Actress, and she was great, but then I love these ones.
Well, the mum is going to probably be nominated, but guess what we're going to see? We're going to see Olivia Colman probably up against Lady Gaga. I mean, it's going to be a rip-roaring Academy Awards this year.
I mean, Olivia Colman was a different performance, it was better, but it was like the different films.
Yeah, well, this is the nightmare.
We love A Star Is Born, we can't forget how much we love
What can we do about A Star Is Born? I'm in pieces, I'm not going to sleep tonight.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.